just waiting until 9 o'clock, actually. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the very first episode of A to G Live from the M Factor Studios in beautiful downtown Jackson, Michigan. We have some great topics this week, and with me to give you his superb opinions, as always, is Garrett Collier. G, how you doing over there, man?
I'm good, man. Excited to be here. How you doing, man?
Right on. Excellent. Do you have a little busy day today, or?
Today, not at all. I've just been prepping for this. I've been excited about this. We met, Tuesday and yesterday, talking about this. Got me all revved up and excited. So I've just been ready to come down here and shoot this.
Right on, man. Well, it's good to have you. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And as a reminder, you can live chat to the right of the screen. We hope to answer them later on. But let's really just kind of dive right into the first topic, and excuse me. That is, we're going to look at Michigan's seeding and how they actually have been playing as of late. They just got off a big win against Rutgers, and before that was obviously the loss against Iowa, which not a very good one, right, G? That was terrible, but
not good.
They're 21-2 with 8 to go, and of course the Big Ten tourney. 2 with number 9 Sparty, so we get them home and away. We got 2 with number 24 Maryland. Number 19 Wisconsin is, of course, this weekend. We got at Penn State, at Minnesota, and then Nebraska at home. And boy, Nebraska's been kind of playing not really up to par, have they?
No, yeah. I mean, Nebraska looked really bad against Maryland. I don't see any of those games really being all that challenging, other than obviously the ones against the top 25 teams. Maryland, Sparty always is tough, but Nebraska and really, realistically, Wisconsin at home shouldn't be that big of a challenge. I think we'll get into why they struggled, I think, on the road. But, I see I'm optimistic about the games that they have left for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I'm looking forward to kind of like a split maybe against Sparty.
Yeah,
we do play decently at the Breslin Center, but I still feel, close game actually at Michigan, and then maybe we'll see, because we have no idea, what Spartan team will get, right?
So, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have a 20-point win at Breslin like last year. I mean, I'd be all right with that, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But, back to the seeding. What will their seed be in the Big Ten tourney? That's kind of a question we have to look at as well. Right now, it's very tough to say because they did have that loss at Iowa. And then, of course, where are we looking for this weekend against Wisconsin?
Yeah.
So
I think they're locked into one of those first 3 seeds, right? It's going to come down to Michigan State, and Purdue for those top 3 seeds realistically. I think if you can get a split against MSU, the 1 seed is there. If you lose both of those games, that's where you're going to get into trouble. That's where you're going to struggle to get that top seed.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I guess in my opinion, if we can hook up with a number 1 or number 2 seed in the actual Big Ten tournament, of course, Michigan does play well as the underdog in these tournaments, the last 2 years. We'll get into that a little bit later, but let's also talk about what some of the other teams are doing. that are in the top 10, right?
Yeah.
We got Tennessee, who plays number 5 Kentucky. That's March 2nd, I believe. We have Duke plays at number 3 Virginia. We'll get into that later on.
I'm excited for that one.
Well, we got excuse me. We have Duke also has to play number 16 Louisville, number 8 UNC twice. Let's not forget about that, right? G, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate to get to watch that Michigan-North Carolina game earlier this year. That North Carolina team can play. Michigan made them look not great, but I think they got some players. They got Kobe White, Leaky Black's pretty good off the bench. They've got some size, they got length, and I think they're one of the teams that matches up physically with Duke. A lot of teams don't have that athleticism that Zion and RJ and Cam Reddish and the rest of Coach K's crew bring. So I think those will be Duke has the most challenging remaining schedule, I think, of those top 10 teams.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. And then they also have 16 Louisville at home. I don't know how good Louisville is actually going to be later on in the season. I think they're kind of overrated this year. Don't ask me why, but
I haven't got to watch them. Only time I saw them was against MSU.
Yeah, I watched them. I've watched them twice, and one was against MSU.
Right.
Of course, they pulled that out, but
without Cassius down the stretch for
exactly. So Gonzaga, of course, is ahead of Michigan. They have no ranked teams left, so I definitely think that they probably went out. Would you agree with that, G?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to lose many conference games ever, especially this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
they had that big win.
It's pretty straightforward for them.
They had that big win against Duke.
And they played Duke and Maui, and after that, really nobody.
Well, let's not forget the unbeatable Duke at the time.
At the time, people were talking about Duke beating the Cavs.
They were thinking about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
They were talking national championship for early on in the season, right? What was that, like the 5th game or something like that?
Oh, it was super early. People got really, but I mean, it was understandable. They brought in, the top 3 freshmen in the country and this and that. But yeah, I think Gonzaga's strength of schedule is always one thing that might hurt them come seeding time. Whether they get that 1 or 2 line it will be interesting just because of their strength of schedule isn't all that great.
Yeah, I really think I would have to say that Gonzaga is a little overranked, even though they do have that win against Duke, but they play no one. They absolutely play no one.
And it was early in the year. Duke had a lot of new pieces coming in, and Gonzaga has a lot of returning players. I think that's a big factor in those early season tournament games, like in Maui, like in the Coaches versus Cancer Classic, all those kind of games where these teams that have 3rd and 4th year players, they've been playing together for 3 or 4 years, whereas Duke's got 3 freshmen who've never touched the floor really in a competitive game. Right. They've been playing a bunch of small schools. I know they played a couple Ivy schools and a couple, mid-majors. That was their first test, And I think obviously since then they've played some other good teams and they've managed to play well together. But I think early in the year that's always a struggle for those young teams.
Yep, definitely. And I just can't see them moving on. I really don't think they're not going to lose, but if they get a number 1 seed, I just don't think that they deserve it simply because of that fact. And
it's like Alabama in football.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, the remaining list goes Kentucky. Kentucky plays twice with number 1 Tennessee.
I'll tell you what. Great games. Those are going to be great games.
Oh, man.
Great games.
Oh, well, let's hope so. You never really know that
That's true.
SEC games, I'll tell you what, just ridiculous. Then
They're a little better this year, though. The SEC's all right. Mississippi State's playing good. Ole Miss is okay. Florida.
Do you like Tennessee?
I don't like Florida.
Do you actually like Tennessee?
I do, yeah. So the only game I watched them where I thought they were even a little bit shaky was the Vanderbilt game at Vanderbilt, which is always every year Vanderbilt plays somebody really good at home that they shouldn't beat, and this year it was Tennessee. And Tennessee managed to pull out a win, and I think those are the kind of games that matter. Michigan, Illinois. When Michigan was at Illinois, it was ugly the whole way, but we pulled out a win.
Yep, that's very true.
Those kind of games where you're playing a team that's not as good as you, but you manage to find a win. That's what championship teams do, and I think Tennessee's on their way. Yeah.
I would tend to disagree because I kind of think Tennessee's a little overrated.
Okay.
Of course. So I'm a Gonzaga hater and a Tennessee hater already.
Good to know up front.
Yeah, even though Tennessee number 1, but they got the 1 loss.
Right, of course they're going to be up there.
Yeah. So followed by Nevada. Nevada plays no one. They're behind Michigan right now, ranked. Nevada.
It's tough to tell. It's so hard to tell. Caleb Martin can ball, man. His brother's pretty good.
Again, I gotta say, I just don't see Nevada doing anything either.
That's fair.
Of course, I'm biased, right? I'm really biased.
Right.
But and then followed by them is UNC, MSU, and Marquette. Following Michigan. Yeah. Nevada, UNC, MSU, Marquette. We already talked about UNC. What do you think about Sparty?
Man, I mean, like we're obviously going to talk about the Langford injury and their recent stretch. I think if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago who I think the best team in the Big Ten was, I'd have said it's a toss-up between Michigan and Michigan State.
Yeah, right on.
Now, I think the door's open for Purdue because of the way Michigan and Michigan State have played. I think State could be in trouble, but I think Michigan has shown weaknesses as well. I think the Big Ten's a toss-up right now. I really do, and I think Sparty is in the thick of it. Absolutely.
Well, what all of a sudden, at the end of last week, all of a sudden we have Purdue with 2 losses.
Yeah.
Michigan with 2 losses
Right.
after that loss to
Right.
Iowa. Watch out for Wisconsin too. Wisconsin's
couple.
creeping up there.
Yep.
They got 3 losses.
Yep.
Then you got MSU with 3 losses. But
obviously,
watch out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want it to happen. But if Michigan were to slip against Wisconsin this weekekend, it's a 4-horse race at that point. I mean, I hope you're right. I really hope you're. I mean,
Not
even
gonna happen,
Iowa,
folks.
How many Big Ten losses does Iowa have? 4? Or do they only have? I mean, I was in the race really. If Michigan slips,
They obviously own the tiebreaker, right? Because we don't play them again, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But that was at Iowa, and I think that was a real eye opener. Well,
Absolutely.
After that game, I basically said, "There's no way we will play any worse than we played that game."
No.
Teskey had, I think, 8 minutes.
No,
He played 8 minutes that game.
I've got a couple notes on that game actually.
We'll get to that.
I'll talk to you about. Yeah,
Yep,
for sure.
Exactly. So right now, just to answer, right now we're looking at Michigan as I would say easily a 2 or 3 seed in the national tournament.
Yeah, I had written down that another thing. Had you asked me 2 weeks ago, my answer would be totally different. 2 weeks ago, I'd say number 1 seed, pushing for the number 1 overall seed. Now I'm thinking 2 to 4 are all possible. But the thing that I think is okay about that is last year they went to the finals as a 3 seed. In 2013, when they went to the finals, they were a 4 seed. So I don't have a problem going if they're on a fringe between a 2 and a 3. I'd almost rather see them drop down to that 3 line and be closer to home, play in Columbus or play in Dayton or somewhere like that, rather than have to go out west somewhere as a 2 seed and then you play a tough 7 seed there. That can be those are tricky matchups.
And then the best part about that, we get to watch them on maybe a Thursday or Friday at 11 o'clock at night.
Nobody
playing so
right.
late.
We all have to stay up till 1 a.m. trying to watch them play in Vegas.
Exactly.
There's 7 Michigan fans in the state of Nevada.
So my thought is easily Michigan a 2-3 seed right now with the way they're playing right now. That is the way they're playing right now.
Right.
I don't see any reason for them to be a 1 seed simply because that loss at Iowa and that loss at Wisconsin, those were ugly. And earlier in the season, we were touting their defense, right? We were touting their defense.
Absolutely.
They hadn't allowed 70 points in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? I think they allowed over 70 once, and that was against South Carolina earlier on.
Right.
Not much of a huge game there. But then followed that by, Iowa scored 42 points in the first half.
Yeah.
That's unheard of for Michigan. And when we're not shooting well and we're not playing defense well, it's going to be a long game, as it is for most college teams.
I was going to say that goes for every team. If you're not shooting the ball well in college, you're going to struggle. If you're turning the ball over, if you're in foul trouble, whatever. If one thing goes wrong in a college game, just because of the lack of depth at the college level, unless you're Duke, unless you're maybe Kentucky, you're going to get into trouble in those kind of situations. But yeah, I think a 2 or a 3 seed is probably most likely. Would have no problem with a 3 seed at all. I didn't realize this until I started looking into stuff we were going to discuss today. The last time Michigan was the number 1 seed, do you know when it was in the tournament?
That's a great answer.
1993. I was not alive. It was the Fab Five. It was their second year. Jalen and Weber and all those guys. Obviously, that was the timeout year. Yeah,
poor G over here wasn't even born yet.
I don't know if that's poor me. I didn't have to watch it.
Yeah, no kidding. Wasn't even a thought. Even though you got to miss out on some good Michigan football, you were brought into this world at pretty rough time.
I've seen great Michigan basketball in my life.
That is very true.
As a basketball fan, I've been spoiled over the last decade.
That'd be a great topic to get into. Is how
what I've seen and what I'm
Beeline has really saved us during the Rich Rod years and during the Brady Hoke years. And I'll tell you what, because we were down. All Michigan fans were just down.
So much.
And then remember bringing in Zach
Novak and Stu Douglas and Manny Harris.
Manny Harris.
I started wearing a T-shirt under my basketball jersey in middle school because of Manny Harris.
Morris was a good
Demo
player
was
too.
Good. Yeah, was he one and done or two and done? He was out of there pretty quick, but he was great when he was there. Yeah. Yeah, Beeline really saved Michigan fandom for me because I was about 10 when our football team started being terrible, and I was like, well, this is boring.
Right.
I don't want to watch a team go 3-9. So luckily, Beeline showed up and bailed us out.
It really was. It was a blessing in disguise. But let's move on to the next topic again. 2 or 3 seed. I think we're kind of in agreement with that, right, G?
Absolutely.
The next topic is kind of like who is the MVP of if the season ended today, who would the MVP be? Well, in basketball at all levels, the player who has the best, what many may call the best stats, points, rebounds, all that stuff. That doesn't always mean you're the most valuable player for that team. It really doesn't. You know this from high school. We know this from college. In the pros, most of the time you don't see the leading scorer in the league get
Rarely
the MVP. You know what I mean? It's all about a word that I really want to hammer down on tonight, and that is the word reliability. And a lot of people don't really put a lot of emphasis on reliability. Well, the player that I've picked for the MVP of this season, if it ends right now, this player exhibits this reliability trait.
I think we might agree on this. I thought we were going to disagree for sure.
We'll
You're
see.
building this suspense on me, though.
So, and it's certain stats that don't really, again, they don't stick out, right? And here they are. So minutes per game, he's playing 32.9 minutes per game, no less than 31 minutes a game in the Big Ten, in Big Ten play. Mm-hmm. He's got his assist to turnover ratio, 6 assists to 1.7 per game.
On this, man.
All right, I like it. I'm
so surprised because there's so many choices.
Now, oh yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to debunk a few other ones, but absolutely. He's second in the Big Ten in assists, so that should give it away kind of right now.
Right, absolutely.
But steals per game, 1.5 per game. That's fifth in the Big Ten. 5 rebounds per game as a 6-footer, and let's not forget, basically he's almost had 3 triple-doubles in a row. He did have the one.
Yeah.
Then he almost had another one at Iowa, and then almost another one Tuesday night against Rutgers. He's a 2-year starter at point guard for Michigan, and also because he sat behind Derek Walton Jr. In his freshman year, leading them to back-to-back Big Ten titles as well as a national championship, obviously last year.
Yeah.
And again, we always think about this season and stuff like that, but reliability over this season. Last season, even the season before, he was a great backup for Derek Walton Jr.
For sure.
And of course, how can we forget one of the greatest hook shots since Kareem
Since
Abdul-Jabbar, right?
For sure.
That, of course, Xavier Simpson.
Absolutely.
Give me your thoughts on that, buddy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have much else to say. You touched on so when you told me that this was one of the things you wanted to discuss, I was like, he's going to pick Iggy or Teske. Those are my thoughts, and for good reason. If you had taken one of those, I can't blame you because Iggy's the leading scorer. Teske's a 7-footer who shuts down the big men on the other team, leads the team in rebounds, can get a double machine when he needs to be. But I completely agree in looking beyond the stats. There's definitely something intangible about Xavier Simpson that I remember reading something this offseason. Somebody had been at one of the practices and said that this was Xavier's team, and it worried me because last year he had no offensive game. He could pass the ball well and he took care of it, but he certainly wasn't a scoring threat at any time. Where this year, when needed to be, he's absolutely found a little bit of a jump shot. He didn't, again, 0 for 5 against Iowa. Everybody struggled in that game for some reason, but when he's needed to knock down a timely 3, he's managed to. Another thing that's interesting to me that I found when I was looking into it is he's doubled his assist number this year while averaging less than 1 more turnover per game, which is incredible to me that he's handling the ball far more than he was last year. And another thing that goes underlooked is his free throw shooting. Last year, as we all remember, people kept saying Michigan's free throw shooting is going to be what lets them down because Simpson was shooting 51% and Matthews was shooting 55%. They both improved to 63% this year, which is, it's still not great, but an extra 12 out of 100 free throws is huge. You can't just hack a Xavier anymore in the second half.
Absolutely.
You saw it a little bit last year late in games and close games. Teams started to employ that tactic of fouling him or Charles because they were making 1 or 2 almost every time. Exactly. You can't do that this year. He'll knock down 65, 70% in those close games. So.
Exactly. And if you notice, I think he's been really good. I don't have the stat on that, but I think he's been really good as of late in shooting free. I think all of his woes were from early on in the season. Because during the Rutgers game, they said he was only shooting, that's the guy you want to foul right there. I said, no, he's been solid the last couple games and stuff like that. So I was very, very surprised at that. When they said that, I was very, very surprised at the actual the actual percentage that he was actually shooting. So, and so when it comes to, and I think you alluded to it, when it comes to Teske, remember, I go back to my word, reliability.
Yeah.
If it's reliability we're looking for, Teske really let me down against Iowa.
Yeah.
Those were not ticky-tack fouls.
No,
I don't think the refs
he committed
were
2
picking on
fouls.
him.
He was in foul trouble because of his health. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, those were not ticky-tack fouls, and what did he pick up, like 2 right in 30
He
seconds?
Had, he had 0 with 12 and a half to go. He had 2 fouls by 11:42 to go in the first half.
Yeah, I mean that's
which means you have to. Which here's the other thing we can get into this more is I think that depth at the big spots is one of Michigan's problems. When Teske goes out, we're down to Davis and Johns.
Sure.
I like Johns.
Sure.
I think he's hyper athletic.
Yep.
I think he plays bigger than he is. But he's young, and I think Davis also he lacks experience as well, and he's not as athletic. So when Teske goes out with 11:42 in the first half against an Iowa team that has 2 really good bigs, it puts Michigan in a really hard spot.
Yeah.
So as far as reliability goes, that really did knock Teske down in your opinion for sure.
It did, and then you go to Iggy. You
Yeah.
go to Iggy.
Goose egg against Wisconsin.
Don't get me wrong. Love him to death.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
He's the most fun to watch.
He's got the tat right there.
tattoos.
Yeah, the snake or whatever.
Donut money signs.
Oh yeah, he's the man.
Yeah,
he's
for
an
sure.
older freshman. He just turned 20 at the start of this year.
Yep.
However, he's just a beast. He if he can start knocking down his 3 a little more consistently.
Yeah.
Last game, Rutgers, he had a great game. He had a great game as shooting the 3.
Yeah.
I really can't see him staying longer than 2 years. He just got the body for it.
Yeah, no,
You know,
I
he's
was
just
just
got
gonna
the
say
body.
he's not. I mean, granted, he's 20, not 18. He's not built like a freshman. He's built like a junior or senior, and I think he plays that like it too. He's got that mentality. He's played a little bit with the Canadian national team. He's played at a really high level in America and Canada now. Yeah, he goes to the basket. He attacks when he has open shots. He tends to knock them down. But again, with the same thing with him and Teske, it's that reliability thing. You can't go into the Kohl Center and drop a goose egg when you're the team's leading scorer, and be considered the team MVP at that point. You know, he needed to have a good game that day. He absolutely did not show up. Michigan lost the game. You can't have those kind of games and be the MVP. You know, Xavier, sure, against Iowa, he went 0 for 5 from 3, but he still took care of the ball. He didn't turn it over. He knocked down his free throws. And he passed the ball well, and he got a few rebounds. You know, so even when Xavier, I think that's the other thing that makes Xavier more versatile is even when he's not scoring, he can help the team in so many ways.
Exactly, and again, he's just a solid leader.
Right.
Reliability. Like I said, the minutes played is just fantastic. The minutes played
Yeah.
for a point guard. So another crazy stat is the fact that it was 3.2 turnovers per 100 possessions.
That's insane.
100 possessions. Let's not forget, he's
crazy
touching
number.
the ball
Every time down the floor.
we'll say 32 minutes he's in the game, right?
Right.
And he's touching it every time. He touches the ball every
Yep.
time. Sometimes, 5, 6 different times in a possession?
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because they
Absolutely.
kind of run, they run a slower offense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if something's not there, they just kick it right back
Get back
out
up to him and they set
Simpson.
something else up.
Exactly.
There's
And
what you're saying is there's ample opportunity for him to turn the ball over, and he's still not doing it.
It's exactly. So, all right, we're 2 for 2 right now.
I'm so surprised by this, man.
That's awesome. So we'll we'll head on to the next topic, and that will be basically it kind of goes on to not really on to, but exactly what we were talking about earlier, because we talked about the NCAA tourney. Now let's talk about the Big Ten tourney, because to me that is some of the best times of the year right there.
It's great
The
basketball.
Big Ten tourney. The Big Ten tourney has been fantastic, especially for Michigan fans the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look back a little bit. Let's refer back to the seeding, because I think this is where I'm going to say I don't really want to be a number 1 or number 2 seed. The only reason I say that is because of how we play when we're the underdog.
Embrace that
right?
mentality.
So 2017, we're going as the 8th seed. We're going as
And
the
the plane
8th
crash
seed.
and everything.
Exactly.
That year was
all
insane.
of that stuff. Yep. The lowest seed ever to win the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
The lowest seed. Yeah. The plane crash heading to DC. They had to play in their
Practice uniforms. Yeah, and they all wore and Mars
Yeah.
started wearing the pink shoes, and he never changed after
Yep,
that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So they did that, and Derek Walton Jr. was the MVP.
He played great in
Yep,
that
and
tournament.
rightfully so. He played great
Absolutely.
in the NCAA tournament too.
Yeah.
So they beat the number 1 seed Purdue in the quarterfinals, which was awesome in OT.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that game?
They had Swanigan and
They still had Haas.
Haas. Yeah, they had
They still had
Swanigan and
big Haas.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, so they had 2 really good players.
Right.
They still have 2 really good players, but and then they go on to beat number 2 seed Wisconsin in the finals pretty easily.
Handily, yeah.
So there's Washington, D.C., and of course, remember everyone just complaining about why is it in Washington, D.C.?
And then they move it to New York.
Yeah.
And it's almost worse.
A week before. Remember, it was a week before.
A week earlier.
A week earlier.
Yeah, that was silly.
Because the Big East already had the MSG
I
already
don't understand
signed out.
that. What was wrong with Indianapolis?
Well, we never won there, so.
Well, I guess from a Michigan fan standpoint, there's plenty wrong with Indianapolis.
Yeah, come on, man.
But no,
Come
as
on.
far as a host, that's like Indiana's like the heart of Big Ten country to me, and heart of like Big Ten basketball. Like Indiana is, you know what I mean, is Big Ten. So like, why did they move it out east? I
Just
don't know.
never give Indiana that much credit. just saying.
All right, my bad.
But so yeah, then we move on to 2018. So we move on to 2018. Guess what? We're the 5th seed.
Yeah.
NYC, as we already mentioned.
Yep.
We're the 5th seed. We start off against Iowa, and we weren't. Remember, that was we talked about this the other day. Remember, we lost. We got our butts kicked at Nebraska. But not before, but we had a good stretch going.
We had been rolling since that game.
Exactly. And
that game kind of, I think last year that was one of those games that I'm hoping Iowa this year is similar to,
Yeah.
where you kind of wake up and are like, okay, we got to play better. They need to look better than they do right now.
You're spot on. I almost went on a limb and said I don't think we lose another game after that Iowa game.
Well,
I was like, we got
right.
We got taken. Well, I mean, I'm talking this year.
Oh, this year against Iowa. Yeah.
This year, I think you're spot on with. It's a little bit of a wake up call, right?
I hope so.
If we don't play well on one or the other end, or decent, at least decent.
Right.
It was just a terrible game for them to play all the way around. So we beat the number 1 seed MSU for the second time that year. That's 3 straight we've beat against. We've beaten the Sparties.
I remember being really nervous going into that one. That was the one that I felt that Michigan didn't play to their potential during the Big Ten season last year to be the 5th team. I thought they were the second best team in the conference to Michigan State last year going into the tournament. Full disclosure, as a diehard Michigan fan.
Why do you say that?
I just didn't think we had the depth that State had. I think Izzo is known as a recruiter. Obviously, he recruits all the best athletes out of Michigan, and he can compete for those national athletes, whereas Beeline doesn't tend to. But Beeline apparently doesn't need to because he's made a habit of turning these 3-star, 2-star, 1-star guys into great collegiate basketball players. But I remember thinking that Cassius and Jackson and Bridges, I mean, they were loaded. They had these.
They were
2
loaded.
for sure lottery picks next year. Cassius is probably going to be one next year. And Nick Ward was playing good basketball at the time. And State was out for revenge because Michigan had beat them earlier in the year. So I thought.
Embarrassed them at home.
Beat them bad at Breslin.
Yeah.
Exactly. And everybody knew Bridges was leaving, and this is his last chance at Michigan, And I thought, man, he's gonna come to play.
Yep.
Jaron's gonna come to play, and I was honestly surprised that Michigan played as well as they did. I was very happy about it, but I was surprised they played as well as they did in that game.
I was more afraid of Jackson last year than I was of Bridges.
He was versatile, and we didn't have anyone who could match up with him.
Agreed. And for all of a sudden, he could start shooting the 3 ball.
When a 6'11", 7 foot,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like Teskey this year and Kenny Goins for State this year. When those guys start to stretch the court, you become really versatile.
I forgot about Goins, right?
We'll talk about him. We'll talk about him.
Sparty, I'll tell you what. So yeah, and obviously last year again after that MSU game, we go on to beat number 3 seed Purdue in the championship.
Yep.
So again, another solid Purdue team.
Now that you say that, though, Purdue has had they're this close. They're 2 championship games to talking about the Big Ten tournament the way we Michigan fans talk about
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, wow.
And to be honest with you, they had the squad in 2017. Last year, I think we were just playing inspired. Well, of course, we were playing inspired the year before too.
Yeah.
But and then Mo Wagner, of course. Big Mo named the MVP of the tournament at MSG.
I miss that guy, man.
Great. That's Iggy's got the number 13 this year, so hopefully he can do it justice and
similar
stuff.
player. Well, not in the way they
bigger.
play, but
he's not taller. He's just bigger. He's just built. He's built really well for a young man.
So what do you think? Are we 3-peating?
Well, let's see. So we move on to 2019. So we'll move on to 2019. Like we mentioned, though, more than likely at this point in the season, be a number 1 or number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I think that's safe
like
to
we were
say.
saying, probably a 2 or 3 seed in
the national,
maybe a 4 in the national. But if we're a number 1 or number 2 seed, how do we play? I don't know. I just don't know how we're going to play. John Beeline is 19-9 in the tourney, best winning percentage amongst active Big Ten coaches.
Yeah,
better than Izzo. That's right, Izzo. So 2 questions really: do they play inspired if they go in as a number 1, number 2 seed like they have in the past? I mean, what do you think about that, G?
I think that this team is playing inspired regardless right now. I think coming into the season, losing Mar, losing Duncan, losing Mo, and DJ and Derek the year before, we've lost 5 NBA players in the last 2 years. Granted, some of them in the G League. Sorry, not the D League anymore. But losing 5 guys to the league in 2 years is crazy for a school like Michigan that isn't known for having those kind of guys. So I didn't expect this team to be this good this year, if I'm completely honest. So as far as expectations go, I think they've already exceeded expectations, but I think that has driven them. I think because expectations were a little bit lower this year. After I feel like the players probably felt like we went to the national championship last year, and we're coming into this season barely ranked in the top 20. How does that happen? So I think it'll be easy to be motivated for those games, especially we're probably going to see Sparty if we make the semifinal or the final. Not hard to get fired up about that game.
Well,
at all.
Yeah, because they will. Again, our next topic is actually
MSU.
We'll roll right into that, but
realistically, State is probably the second best team in the Big Ten to Michigan, in my opinion.
Okay.
From top to bottom.
I mean, that's fair.
Purdue's got Carson Edwards, but outside of him, I don't think they're as good. So I think State is the second best team. We would probably have to beat them another time, whether it be the second or hopefully third time this year that we would beat them. So yeah, it would be challenging. If I had to put my money on it right now, I would say no. Michigan doesn't repeat. I like our chances to get to the finals, but
it's just tough to do.
It's tough. So hard to do.
No one's ever done it. No one's done it in the Big Ten.
I didn't
repeat. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even think it's tough. I don't know if anyone's gone back to back. Maybe that's something to look up, buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, well, that actually moves us right into
perfect
segue. The next perfect segue into the next topic here, and that is, if you hadn't heard, Michigan State has lost 3 straight, and the loss of Langford. And first off, can we just say feel terrible for that young man?
Absolutely. Love Langford.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if they're your rival and stuff like that. You just don't like to see that regardless. You know what I mean? That's just terrible. He was averaging 15 points per game in 13 games this season. Great free throw shooter, great 3-point shooter,
great defender,
scorer.
Perimeter defender.
And a good leader. What is he, a junior? Was he a junior?
I believe so.
I want to say a junior, yeah. So loses 3 straight. They lost at Purdue, Indiana and OT, at the Breslin. Ooh, that was just a rough loss. And then at Illinois the other night, Tuesday night. They still have games at Wisconsin, Michigan twice at the end of the season. Then they have to travel to Indiana as well. So that's looking tough. Winston was, to be honest with you, looking like the MVP. Along with, I'll stick Winston in there with the league Big Ten MVP, along with Happ from Wisconsin and stuff like that. Happ's been playing really well.
That's fair. Yeah.
But he's just a turnover machine right now. So what are your thoughts on Sparty right now?
Man, my first thought on Sparty this year was their depth amazed me coming into the season. They had, outside of point guard, obviously they don't really have a backup for Cassius other than Foster Lawyer, who is just super inexperienced and small. Outside of that, they had great depth at every position. They had shooters on the bench. Again, they're young, but as the season goes on, obviously now Henry's getting a lot more playing time. But they had Arns off the bench. They had Tillman off the bench behind Goins and Ward. Just a lot of good bodies at every position. But with Langford going down, with Arns having injury problems throughout the season, they started to look beatable. And then now, all of a sudden, they're struggling to beat. Well, they're losing to Illinois and Indiana back to back. So going into Purdue's tough. That loss, they cut it down in the second half, back down to I think 5 or 6 at one point in the second half, and that didn't bother me. If I was a State fan, that game doesn't bother me. They showed fight. They showed grit.
I'll tell you what would have bothered me is the opening of that game because they look like crap.
The first 15 minutes
they just look terrible.
The first 15, 20 minutes really do bug you. But the fact that they came back, their freshmen played well in the second half. Their bigs played well. Cassius obviously played well. But what I think that showed down the stretch was Purdue was able to key on to Cassius, make somebody else beat them, and nobody stepped up, right? Then you go to Indiana. Indiana's on a 7-game losing streak coming in. Romeo Langford's the only player on that team, and Juwan Morgan are the only 2 players playing well. And they beat you at home, which, again, there was a big flaw in that game. It was the free throws, right? They went they shot something like 30% as a team. Outside of Cassius, nobody shot above 50%, I don't think. Nick Ward in particular really struggled. They almost pulled the hack-a-shack technique on him. Foul him. Make him make free throws, and he couldn't all of a sudden, which he answered well against Illinois. But all of a sudden against Illinois, they're turning the ball over every other time down the court. And so in each of those 3 losses, there was a glaring hole in their game that each one of those teams exploited. And I think that Michigan is the only team that can attempt to exploit 2 of those at once, which Michigan can turn them over, and Michigan can help shut down Winston. And what that'll do, and Nick Ward's going to have John Teskey on him. I think that'll be frustrating. We talked about this yesterday. I think Matthews will get stuck out there on Henry, put Iggy on Goins, or did we say the other way around? Either way,
Iggy ongoings for sure.
Iggy On's going because Goins is apparently a 3-point shooter all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Which I mean, to be fair to the guy, we were looking at it yesterday. The last 7 or 8 games, he's knocked a 3 down really well.
True. I was amazed on Tuesday when he popped up. What, like 2 in a row? But
that's
the
question is who? So without Langford and with Ward getting a lot more attention now, outside of Cassius and Ward, you need a 3rd and a 4th option. I think that's what makes Michigan great. You've got Matthews, you've got Teskey behind, you've got Simpson behind Poole and Iggy, right? Whereas for State now, behind Ward and behind Cassius, who's going to step up? Who's going to be those 3rd and 4th options? I think McQuaid is going to have to play better.
Nah, I mean,
but
he's
a
guess,
3-and-D guy.
If I had to guess, it would be McQuaid. It would be McQuaid simply because.
But is he versatile?
If he catches fire, who knows? But
That's
I think
true.
Basically what I had. Okay, so Michigan has won the last 3 against Michigan State. Again, we've already discussed how difficult it is to have a nice little win streak unless you're Ohio State.
Rivalry like that,
unless you're Ohio State against Michigan. Right? Sorry to bring it up, but that's terrible. But you already alluded to it. We match up so well defensively against Michigan State, so well. Like I said,
last year.
Matthews is gonna be a shutdown. I think he's been a shutdown all year, really. I think Matthews doesn't get the credit for being a defender as much as he should be. I've been watching him all season long on the defensive end. He doesn't. He's rather streaky when it comes to scoring and stuff like that. But he really has been really, really solid on the defensive end, especially going up against normally their top scorer. The other team's top scorer.
Their best wing for sure. They're 2, 3, 4.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And I guess my pick would be Michigan. Right now, I know I said earlier they're probably going to split, but right now it looks, if they were to play tomorrow and then
I'd take Michigan
and then Saturday, Michigan sweeps. And here's a little kicker though. I think it's close at Chrysler because that's the first game, and that could very well be for the conference, right? If that first game is
depending on how this weekend
very
goes,
very well for the conference, and then I think they win that game. And then they just destroy them at Breslin again. Yep. So we're talking 5 in a row again. If they were playing today,
I like your
if they were playing today.
I don't know,
and like you said, Simpson shuts down Winston.
Well, he did. I've said this to you a few times. Is he did last year, and the question is does Winston have something this year that he didn't last year that makes it more difficult for Xavier? And looking at the Illinois game, the answer would be no. But if you look at every other game, pretty much this year, Winston looks improved, right? I think the other thing that hurts Michigan State is what big games have they played in this year? They lost to Purdue at Purdue. And they lost in the Champions Classic early in the year. Right.
Well, they lost to Louisville, right?
They lost to Louisville in the ACC Big Ten. Whereas
and then they lost to Kentucky. Kansas. There we go. Yep.
Granted, Kansas had Osbuki, then he's out for the year now. Whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's a big loss for them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But the point I'm making is that Michigan had the revenge game against Nova from the championship, looked great. Everybody said, "Oh, Villanova's not the same this year." They're 19-4 now, 18-4. Something
what
like
are they
that.
ranked right now? G?
They're they're 14th or 10th, one or the other, because they're playing Marquette this week. And
in people's defense, though, Villanova had two really big losses right after.
And so people
Michigan.
wrote off that win for Michigan.
Exactly.
But all of a sudden, Villanova looks like a Sweet 16 Elite 8 team. Right?
Back in action.
Michigan beat North Carolina at home by 20. Looked great. Everybody said, "Oh, North Carolina's not the same this year." North Carolina's 18-4, third in the ACC right now,
and ranked number 7.
Exactly.
Right there, knocking at Michigan's door.
And then Michigan beat Purdue at home by 20. Everybody said, "Oh, Purdue's a one-man show." Well, Purdue just beat Sparty at Purdue, and granted, it was at Chrysler. Michigan plays great at Chrysler. That's a fair point. But Purdue's 9-2 in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And Michigan is one of those losses.
Purdue also ranked, folks.
So Michigan has 3 really, really big wins. If you look at State's resume, they need to beat Michigan for those resume-building, big-time game wins, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean resume? I mean,
for seating wise.
Okay, you're just looking at seating. I was like, you still think they're making the tourney, obviously.
Well, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Hold up. Their resume.
But I think that State is going to look at those Michigan games as a chance to also just get for those freshmen to get more experience in big games. Because if you look back to the Kansas game, those freshmen weren't playing that much. They didn't have to. Langford was healthy. Now that Langford's out, Henry has to step. He's a starter now for that team, where he was really like their 3rd or 4th wing player coming into the year. So these Michigan games will be big for Michigan State, I think, and I think that they'll be motivated to win at Breslin. I think it's going to be flipped.
Oh, you think
from
so?
What you think? I think Michigan will win by 10 to 12.
Now, don't get me wrong, G. Like I said, that would be. I'm talking from this point in the season.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Because earlier, I agree with you 100%. I think we win at Chrysler and then head up to Breslin. Because honestly, if we win at Chrysler, I don't think that game at Breslin is really going to matter in terms of the actual Big Ten. By then, If I were to, we looked at Michigan's schedule
Yeah.
remaining. Let me put it to you this, G. It wasn't the Iowa, it was the Indiana game. So the Indiana game, we watched it right here at the M Factor Studios. And before the game, I said, worst case, we lose at Indiana.
Yep.
So count down the losses for me. We lose at Indiana.
Boom.
I figured we lose at Iowa. I did call that. And then I figure we lose at Maryland.
Oh, okay.
I figure we lose at, this is worst case, right?
Right,
Worst case
right.
scenario. I figure we lose at Michigan State.
It's 4.
And then maybe one of those losses
One
at
other
home,
ones,
right? I
yeah.
figured one of the losses, maybe Sparty at home at Chrysler. So you were figuring how many? 4 losses there?
That was 5 that you just listed off.
So we're thinking 5 already after the Wisconsin game. So that would be 6 losses
6
in the
total.
Big Ten.
Yeah.
Right now, second place has 3, right?
Right.
So second place has 3. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That game at Chrysler could decide the Big Ten.
It really could, because I mean, here's the deal: is more than likely Purdue is not going to stay with 3 losses, right? Purdue's got a couple tough games left. I know they have to go to Maryland. Let's see, they've got.
Do they go?
That's really the only hard game they've got left. Looking at their schedule, they've got a fairly easy schedule. So they've got Nebraska this weekend. Then they go to Maryland. Then they've got Penn State, Indiana, Nebraska, Illinois, Ohio State, Minnesota, Northwestern. Purdue's got a really forgiving schedule now that you
Boy,
look
they
at
don't
it.
have to play Michigan State at Breslin?
No.
Oh my.
Wait, they already did in state.
Oh, did they?
Yep. And
I
Michigan-
don't remember that.
And they only had Michigan at home at Michigan, and they lost. So they have now that I look at it, Purdue's going to be more of a contender in the Big Ten than I thought a week ago.
Crap, that's all we need is. Well, we do own the tiebreaker though, so that's
true.
That's
That's
good.
true. So I mean, so realistically, Purdue will probably lose 1 or 2 more games in the Big Ten. Probably slip at Maryland, and then in one other. It's so hard to win in the Big Ten that you can't just say
Absolutely.
we're better than all these teams.
Absolutely.
We're running the table, because at one point I said Michigan or Michigan State, one of them will only lose 1 game this year. I thought Michigan and Michigan State would split, and one of them would go the rest of the Big Ten unblemished. I genuinely believed that somebody was going 19-1 this year. I watched the non-conference, and I thought I was so sure. I said,
Gee, that's a bold statement.
and I was
I'll
talking.
tell you what.
I was talking about it, and somebody else told me, they said, "Not 18-2 will win the Big Ten." And I said, "Damn, that's still pretty good too, you know." And now all of a sudden, 4 or 5 losses is probably going to win the Big Ten, just because it's there's so much parity, there's so much depth to this conference. No road night's an easy night.
Exactly.
No home night's an
Exactly.
easy night. Ask Michigan State about playing Indiana at Breslin.
Yep.
I mean, there's no easy games in this conference.
And they got hit with the bug that Michigan had against Iowa,
Yeah.
where they just played absolutely terrible.
Played their worst game of the year and one you couldn't afford to.
Exactly.
Yep.
And in the wrong part of the season, but
Yeah, absolutely.
we digress, and let's go on to our basically our last main topic of the night. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show so far. We're looking pretty solid on time and stuff like that. But for those of you that have been living under a rock the last 18 years, Tom Brady wins his 6th Super Bowl. He's been to 9 of them. Gee, what were you, about 3-4 years old back
No,
when
I was-
Brady? No, when Brady was at Michigan.
Oh, when he was at Michigan? I thought you were going to ask me his first Super Bowl. Yeah.
No.
When he was at Michigan, 2000 was the year they won the Sugar Bowl against Alabama, correct? Or Capital Bowl, whatever bowl
it was 99 to 2000 New Year's.
I was born in
basically.
'96, so I was 3 or
season.
4 when he was done at Michigan.
So you do not
I don't remember watching him at Michigan. I told you this the other day. The first Super Bowl that I remember sitting down and watching the entirety of was the Patriots and the Rams. The first time when it was the greatest show on turf, when it was Kurt Warner and Isaac
Marshall
Bruce,
Faulk.
Marshall Faulk,
Torrey Holt, yeah.
and they were great, and I liked them a lot. But I also, being a kid, being a Michigan fan, thanks to my Grandpa Veenstra, shout out Grandpa Veenstra for converting me. I was like, man, I'm rooting for the Patriots because of Tom Brady. And ever since then, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I love Tom Brady. I love him. He's great.
I do too.
He's the
I
GOAT.
do too.
You can't argue it anymore.
Now, well, exactly. We'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
However,
but no, I don't remember him in Michigan at all.
we do have a little bit of a storyline here, so let's real quick go over some of the stats back in the day.
Oh, you're gonna pull up stats
Well,
on me.
well, we really have to, because you're gonna be like, what were you Michigan fans thinking back in the day? And it you know where I'm going with this, and
I do.
just hold up. So Michigan, he was the QB for Michigan in 96 to 99. Back up to in 97 degrees. He obviously won the national championship.
Yeah, I think people forget
that
he's got
year.
a college championship too.
Yeah,
Not as a starter.
Well,
But
hey, he was on the squad. Just
Exactly.
add how many rings does the guy need? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Back in the day, though, I remember him vividly because I was a huge fan of A1 Drew Henson. Right,
Okay,
we'll get to that in a little bit. Don't shoot me. I know.
Nope.
Again, I'll get into it in a little bit. But Tom Brady, obviously from his combine and stuff like that, everyone knows the problem with Tom Brady, non-athletic, right?
Right.
Boring, just boring. He's not going to wow you with anything. He's not going to wow you with the amazing stats.
Right.
He's not going to be Peyton Manning. He's not going to be Drew Brees and stuff like that, even though Drew Brees is kind of dying off, though. He's not going to ever be that. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. It does not matter. Two things that he is. One of the hardest workers, follows one of the cleanest regimens of diets and stuff. Do you know he doesn't drink any alcohol throughout the season?
Really?
Not a beer, not a single one.
Good for him.
That's tough to do. I'll
I
tell
don't
you
think I
what.
can make it a week.
I don't know. Yeah, no kidding. At least one. You know what I mean? At least
man,
one.
to have a single drink.
Come on, Tom. What's wrong with you?
Well,
Get out and party a little bit.
When does their season start?
Well, the season starts, preseason. I mean, you got to think training camp is end of August or no, it's early August.
Yeah, I think training stuff's in July.
Yeah.
Through February?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him,
Yeah.
man. Good for him.
Well, let's face it. It's worked.
I was going to say maybe there's a reason he's in the NFL and we're talking about him.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So that was always his little. That's why I disliked him in college.
Oh, really?
Right?
Was it he's not going to the frat parties?
No. Yeah. The beer thing really upset me, considering
Really
I was.
ticked me off.
Yeah, exactly. Considering I was 15 years old or whatever, I was pretty bummed about that. But people are really critical of Michigan fans
Yeah.
for this. They're very, very critical of Michigan fans for one. In 97, or pardon me, in 97, it was just boring. So,
Yeah.
98, we get a man called Drew Henson.
Yep.
The Phenom was his name, a highly touted QB out of Brighton, Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people remember him. He was
Two-sport guy.
no, he was out of high school.
Really,
he
a
was a
three-sport guy out of high
He was
school,
second
yeah.
team All-State in Michigan in basketball.
Crazy.
40-2 as a pitcher in baseball.
That's an insane
40-2. Had multiple state records, most home runs in a career.
Yeah.
Baseball really honestly,
his
baseball
sport.
really was his sport.
He was drafted and everything, right?
Well, yeah, $2 million from the Yankees and
Just,
stuff like that. Yeah,
no big
no big deal. No big
$2 million
deal.
coming out of high school to play baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have done that probably. Well, he did try, didn't he?
His one downfall was he couldn't hit with wooden bats.
Oh, lost
Killed
that
him.
power. Yeah,
Killed his
lost
career.
the pop.
He couldn't make contact. He just couldn't make contact. He just no solid contact ever.
Right.
So it was really tough on him. But throughout that year, he battled Drew Henson. Drew Henson was a freshman.
Yeah.
Again, flashy, big arm, athletic, accurate, and Drew Henson obviously just a winner. Like I said, 40-2 as a
Right.
pitcher in high school.
Proven.
I wanted Drew Henson his freshman year. I love it. And another thing people don't realize is that Drew Henson was a really smart kid.
Really?
4.2 GPA, scored like a 31 on his ACTs. It was incredible.
No
I remember,
slouch, man.
The only reason I remember that is because my older sister actually, like the academic scholar, the athletic academic, the athletic scholars and stuff like that. But he was on like the front page of, I was like, who's Drew Henson? I never heard of him before.
Yeah.
And then I read him. I was like, man, this guy's really good. And then I started reading up on him and stuff like that. And, yes, he's going to Michigan. Oh, he's going to be awesome, because I thought for sure he would beat out goofy, gangly Tom Brady, for the starting job as a freshman.
California.
As a freshman.
Yeah, right.
And I wasn't alone. There was most Michigan fans wanted it.
Yeah.
So what happened was Brady was not impressive as that year. Okay. And that's what really fired off. He had 14 touchdowns to 11 interceptions.
Trash.
All year long. Yeah, that's garbage. That's garbage. Now, in his defense, we did have a share of the Big Ten title that year.
The winning games. Brady's win. He's a winner.
We did lose to Ohio State that year. State.
As a 22-year-old turning 23 this year, that's what I'm used to. So, I mean, that doesn't bother me. A share of the Big Ten title, I'd streak down Michigan Ave if Michigan won the Big Ten title.
All right, well, let's hope Michigan doesn't win the Big Ten title. That's graphic, right? So I don't know if we can advertise that on YouTube.
Oh,
there,
sorry.
Garrett.
I
Sorry,
apologize.
buddy. No, just kidding.
Don't ban us, YouTube.
Classic G, I'll tell you what. But, Brady was not impressive. However, we lost to OSU, but we did win the Citrus Bowl that year. And so comes the next year, which was the 99 season.
Yeah.
And again, had to battle Henson. had to battle Henson.
Right.
And what happened was for the first 7 games.
Henson won the job, right?
No. What happened was they would split time.
Okay.
Quarter.
Okay.
They would split quarters, right? So first quarter would always be Brady. Brady
Okay.
would always
He
start.
started.
And then Henson would come in and basically do a great job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The game that turned it around, though, was that Michigan State game.
Okay.
So Brady started. Henson came in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Henson and Lloyd Carr decided to go with Drew Henson for the rest of the game.
Okay.
And Michigan State jumped out to like a 17-point lead
Oh, wow.
after that. So Lloyd Carr reneged and put back in Brady. Brady led us to a comeback. We didn't win, but, it was down to the last seconds where we could have won.
Untimed BS.
No. That was
No.
TJ Duckett.
And
Get out of
Jeff
here with that
Smoker and
noise.
all that?
Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
okay.
Yeah, if we want to get into
No, we don't got to talk about that. That'll make me mad. And
yeah, no
and
kidding.
I barely remember.
Exactly.
it,
I'm
so.
turning red, and even though there's light and stuff, like unbelievable. But yeah, so he nearly came back, and then the week after that, he had 300 yards passing, which was unheard of back in the day. Now,
Right,
300 yards,
especially in the Michigan offense.
exactly,
Especially in the Lloyd Carr offense.
Exactly, because the year before. The year before he had to throw a lot. He's actually set a Michigan record for attempts the year before,
Wow.
which was crazy. That we just didn't throw. We always had a solid running back. Always had a
And
good
that was
line.
the Lloyd Carr way, man. It
Absolutely.
Was. Big offensive lineman, good running backs.
It was the bow.
But,
It
started well
was
before Lloyd
everyone's
Carr,
way, right?
but yeah, absolutely.
So basically, Lloyd Carr said, we're going with Brady again.
Good.
And I was heartbroken. Again. I wanted Henson. I kid you not, folks. I wanted Henson. And don't think that I was alone either, because that's bullcrap. So,
Well, if you were alone, Lloyd Carr wouldn't have been. You know what I mean? Lloyd Carr was considering it. So obviously it wasn't a crazy idea at the time. What is crazy about it is looking back on it. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? You know what I mean?
Right,
In
right.
2019, it's easy to say, "Oh, you're crazy for thinking Drew Henson should have had that job." But I'm sure at the time, when
it
they're
was.
playing
It was.
similarly,
It was
lot
a
easier to
tough.
say.
It's a tough call. It was a tough call for Lloyd. But guess what? You don't question these coaches.
Right.
You don't question the coach. What
Right.
do we
He
know?
he's
you know?
there every
Especially
day.
me. I was 15, 16 years old.
Right.
Come on now.
Right.
So the rest of the season, he led comebacks against Indiana, Penn State. Great comebacks.
Good bowl game.
With 5 minutes left and a trip to the Orange Bowl on the line,
Yeah.
brings us back and beats
Beats
Ohio State. You
Wins
got
the
it,
big one,
buddy.
man.
You
He
got it, buddy.
always wins the big one.
And then beats Alabama.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to think, folks? That we
Right,
actually beat
Michigan could
Alabama?
compete with Alabama.
What the heck? That's unheard of,
20
right?
years later, there's no way.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, hopefully. So even after that, though, I still couldn't wait for the next year because Henson. Why? Just like I mentioned before, Brady, boring, no emotion, no flash, but always played the underdog role.
Yeah.
And I think that really attributed, going into the combine, being drafted in the 6th round.
I think he's always had a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely. Always. You don't get over that stuff, especially when
works.
you're younger.
It's motivation. I was going to say, especially when you're a 22-year-old kid who I'm sure through high school was told he was great. You know what I mean? You're a great high school quarterback, and all of a sudden you're, small fish in a big pond all of a sudden, and everybody's saying, well, we don't know about you. Whether it be Lloyd Carr at Michigan or whether it be NFL scouts, he was always, Trent Dilfer's better. We're going to take Chad Pennington. We're going to take Mark Bulger. We're going to take T. Martin. These quarterbacks that
I know some of the people that were taken in front of them.
Right, which I just named 3 of the more successful ones, but there's some that I don't remember their names. Spurgeon Wynn was taken in front of him.
Yeah, they had a show on that. They had
the Brady Six. Yeah.
Yep,
It was like one of the 30 for 30s. Now I know we're talking about Brady, but we did just get a comment that said I thought you were a fan of John Navarre.
Oh, all right.
And I want to put it out there right now.
All right. Well, the show's about
to
to end. Looks like, you can take it from here. I'm out of here, buddy.
I just want to say that I don't remember watching Tom Brady from Michigan. I don't remember watching Drew Henson from Michigan. But the first 4 years of my Michigan fandom were the John Navarre years, in which never won less than 9 games, went to 2 Rose Bowls, and in my opinion, in my lifetime,
threw the best ball on the planet. Ducks, folks. Leadfoot John Navarre.
You know what? You can say what you want, but statistically,
we're getting into stats now?
he was pretty
That's
good.
what we're going to do?
We've done this once.
We could do stats?
I liked
Yes,
John
we did.
Navarre.
Remember?
He's no Tom Brady, but John Navarre never
Tom
got
Brady
a fair
didn't
shake.
have the stats, though, at Michigan either.
That's true.
And John Navarre did.
No, I'm just trying to rally you up a little bit.
I will take Tate Forcier over John Navarre
I loved
any
Forcier
day.
too. I had the T-shirt said "May the Forcier
I got
be
my
with
jersey
you."
still. I got my authentic jersey right back there.
Speaking of, I just got a Jordan Poole jersey. I'm high on this Michigan basketball team.
I like your style, G. I like your style. But back to John. I'm all
I didn't mean
flustered
to-
now.
I didn't
I
mean to
just
mess
don't
you
know
up.
where we're even at. This John Navarre nonsense. I'm gonna have to see who said that actually after a while.
Oh, it was Scott. I'll put him on blast. You don't mind.
I should have known. So basically, again, still after Brady leaves, he goes
Yeah.
to the pros. Shockingly, gets drafted in the sixth round.
Sixth.
He was out of my mind. He was out of most Michigan fans' mind.
Oh, I'm
not
sure.
going to sit here and defend the fact that because that was that was what I was leading to is so many people bash Michigan fans right now simply because now we're Tom Brady fans.
Now you're a Brady fan.
No, we are Michigan man fans.
Exactly.
You're right. At the time, we wanted Drew Henson. If Drew Henson would have done great in the pros, there's only one person that I did not care to do well, and I hated him in the pros. That's John Navarre.
I was like, where are you going with this? He didn't
That's
do well
John
in the pros,
Navarre.
to be fair. But Drew Henson had a stint with the Cowboys, right? Drew Henson did?
Well, he played with the Lions too.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. But anyway, and I was not alone. That's all I'm saying. I was not
No,
alone in this.
absolutely not.
And what? Again, you asked why I wanted Henson. He was flashy. He was
Right.
accurate.
Fun to watch.
He was a great quarterback. Now, granted, he had no defense when he was at Michigan, so
Yeah.
his
Win-loss.
plus don't forget he had the A train. So he had the A train.
Handed the ball off a
yeah,
lot.
Yeah. So Brady had the A train too, but he also had David Terrell.
Yeah, and
wide receiver.
Alexander, right?
Yeah, yep.
yeah.
So he had some good receivers, and Henson did not have near the weapons that Tom Brady did.
No, he
except
had,
for
like-
he did have the A train, but he also he didn't have.
I can't think of any Michigan receivers from then. Maybe I'm just too
geez.
young.
Well-
But like I remember right before that was
we had Marquise Walker. Marquise Walker
yeah.
was really
But like
good.
I'm saying, right before that you had Terrell and Alexander, and then right after that you have Braylon Edwards come in, and of course he's all that he was for Michigan. He was great.
Yeah.
So, but there's that little gap right there for Navarre and Henson where there's not that great of a receiving core. So, that totally makes sense that he would have,
Right.
he didn't have the weapons that Brady did, or that Greasy did, or that Henny did.
Well, and again, Henson only played because he left after his 1 year. He left after his junior
Did he?
year,
Okay.
basically. Yep, he left after his junior year, went to try out for baseball, didn't work out for him,
Yeah.
and that was that. He kind of
And now the rest is history.
yeah, exactly.
Look at Brady now.
So and we look at Brady, and again, that's kind of what I want to allude to. So when Brady wins his first one, and it was fantastic. Instantly, I was still a Brady fan. I just liked Drew Henson better. I just liked watching him better.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, did you? Okay, so you obviously you preferred Drew Henson. Did you see Brady having any sort of career in the NFL at the time? Did you think he'd be a starter ever,
Oh God, no,
let alone a 6-time Super Bowl champion?
no,
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 That's
not
so
a
crazy
chance.
to me.
Not
So
a chance.
crazy. And clearly, again, you clearly weren't alone because 32 teams passed on him 5 times, and 20-some did a 6th time before he was finally picked up. So
Exactly.
it's not like that's an absurd statement
Exactly.
for you. But what
Exactly.
is absurd is that we're so into analytics. Well, not so much them, but so into statistics and scouting and the combine and looking at their whole body of work and who are these? We have these can't miss quarterbacks
Right,
who come
right.
in the league and they're gone after 3 years, or we have these other quarterbacks. Like, I mean, there's other examples of this, of quarterbacks who have fallen, but none like this, where you fall to the 6th round, 6 quarterbacks are taken before you. Not one of them got a ring other than Trent Dilfer, which he kind of,
Trent
that
Dilfer.
defense carried him there.
Yeah, we're gonna
And-
say
And you go to 9 and have 6, and how many AFC championships has he been? I mean, the body of work now, if you were to look back and say this kid's going to be a 6th round, it's absurd.
exactly. And let's not forget, we need to thank. Again, we don't like it when people get injured. We got to thank Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe, yeah.
If it wasn't
'Cause he
for
was
that-
having a great career.
He was having a great season.
Yeah.
He was having a great season.
No, I like Drew Bledsoe. I'm
Yeah.
a Bledsoe fan.
Yeah.
Even when he went to Buffalo after, I
Yep.
liked Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
Him and Travis
Absolutely.
Etienne, yeah.
I felt bad. I was like, oh man, the Patriots are done. Here comes Tom
Yeah,
Brady,
right.
Tomas Brady, into the house. And
Yeah, so I guess this is an interesting question. What were your thoughts when, I'm assuming you were an NFL fan at the time as well, when all of a sudden you hear, hey, Drew Bledsoe's out for the year, Tom Brady, former Michigan quarterback, is the Patriots quarterback. What were your thoughts?
I do remember it vividly, and my thoughts were, like I just mentioned, the Patriots are done this
Yeah.
season. That's it. That's it. Again, I was still happy that he's gonna get a shot, right?
Yeah.
So many people passed up on him,
Right,
and I'm like,
right.
Tom Brady. Again, no one hated Tom Brady. He was just me.
There's
He was
nothing
just
to hate about him.
bleh, he was blah blah blah. He still beat Ohio State.
Yep.
He beat Alabama in at the time it was a BCS. It was BCS
Whatever
bowl
they called
games.
it then,
So
but
yeah,
yeah,
it was
right.
the Orange Bowl, and there was no reason to hate him. The only reason I just wanted Drew Henson more. So when he went down, or when he came in after Drew Bledsoe went down,
You
I
root
still
for
thought
him.
I was like, man, he is not a pro quarterback.
Right.
He is not a pro quarterback. Obviously, these scouts and stuff, they know what they're
They
doing.
know they're doing
to
to a certain extent, apparently, because
You got to admit, though, diamond in the rough. Diamond in the rough.
100%.
It's exactly what makes him the
100%.
GOAT. He is the GOAT, folks. There's no...
he's got more Super Bowls
there's-
than any team other than his own in Pittsburgh. Argue at that point. Like, you can't argue it anymore.
He is a quarterback, an individual.
Right.
This year was prime, too, because why? They started...
Yeah.
Okay,
People
so
said he
what?
was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too old. He's too old, right?
Can't play football at 41, especially a quarterback. Unless you're a kicker, you can't play football at 41.
Well,
right?
apparently if you don't drink alcohol for 8
8
months out of the year.
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
talk. But let's think about this. The Patriots at the start of the year, they didn't have Edelman because he was out for that PED charge or whatever for
Yep.
4 games.
Yeah.
There was all that drama between Garoppolo and
Brissett leaving.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
even
there
people,
was,
Gronk was talking about retiring.
Exactly.
At one point.
Gronk-
Or getting
Gronk-
traded.
well,
like,
Gronk was a shell of himself, right? He
yeah,
all
most
year,
of the season.
all
he
year,
he
really.
played great in the playoffs.
Absolutely,
but
and he
before
turned it
that-
on. He turned it on
Absolutely.
at the right
Well,
time.
same with Julian Edelman.
Yep.
Which he
Well,
always does.
Yeah,
apparently.
exactly. Yep, exactly. And let's see what else. Oh, there was all the drama between Brady, Belichick, and
And
Kraft.
Kraft, apparently there's beef there. Which, can there really be, man? Y'all keep winning championships. How much can you really butt heads?
Well, think about it, G. It's 18 years together.
That's true. It's a long
18
time.
years. You got to let out some fire every once in a while.
That's one of the rare things I think about the Brady dynasty is even through I don't know. Look at Kobe when he was with the Lakers. They had more than one coach during his legacy there. LeBron's played for 3 different teams, but even with the Cavs, he's had several different coaches. And now in LA, Luke Walton looks like he's not going to be there long. Like even these. Peyton Manning played for 2 different teams and didn't stay. For him, the owner and the coach to all have been there from his rookie year is so unheard of. It's
Spot
so
on.
crazy.
Spot on, and it's just a totally different. You got the Patriots who are systematic. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Systematic, and everyone. Oh, this is another
He's a
thing
system
too. G.
quarterback.
Oh, that's
People say
what's-
that all the
Yeah, I
time.
know. And the rebuttal is okay. Name the system.
Right.
You had the West Coast offense. That was a system, right? You have the
Right.
triangle offense.
Right.
That's a system, right? You want to know what the system is? Brady Belichick.
Exactly.
That is the system.
Exactly. They
So to
do
all
what
you
they have to
haters
do.
out there that's saying, "Oh, well, Brady
Right.
put him on another team, he'll
He's
be
done
terrible."
it with how many receivers has he thrown touchdowns to? A stupid number.
Good question, because I barely knew any of them before he came
Exactly.
to the Patriots.
Exactly.
I knew
How many-
Randy Moss
Outside of Randy Moss,
and Brown. Brown was
Troy Brown.
yeah.
Yep.
Brown. I knew Brown.
Yep. And like Deion Branch was like, oh, all right, he got a Super Bowl
Yeah.
MVP. Now Julian Edelman in the playoffs, but like he's going 17. I remember when Rashae Caldwell there for a minute was their number 1 wide receiver, and everybody was like, who? And Chris
Yeah,
Hogan,
exactly.
some lacrosse
Hogan,
player,
yeah.
is their number
Edelman
1
was
target.
a quarterback in friggin'
Amendola
college.
had been a mediocre receiver his whole career. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
Brady's turning him into a 1,000-yard guy.
I'm sorry. The argument is stupid.
It's so silly.
It's not even close anymore. But, okay, so we'll go back to stats. Well, he doesn't have the stats of in the regular season. Of course, he owns every Super Bowl because he's played in 9 of them, folks. Let's just cut it at that,
Just to
right?
get there. Even if he
9.
lost every one of them, 9 Super Bowls is an insane.
How about
number.
this one, G? How about last year after he had a 500-yard game in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Last year. How about this? When they said, well, you realize if he makes it to another one and loses, he'll be 500 in Super Bowls.
Right.
That was an anti-GOAT statement.
Right.
They were like, that is going to keep him from being the GOAT.
Right. It's
You're
absurd.
telling me 9, so he was going to be
He's
5
gonna be
of
5-4 if he would
Yeah,
have lost
5
this
of-
year.
yeah.
Yep. First of all, if I'm Tom Brady, darn, I only got 5.
Yep, only one hand.
Right. Second of all, he threw for 500 yards and then lost to the Eagles. That's another thing that I had thought about when we were going to talk about this was the defense. Like he's played for some good defenses. When they had Brewski and Ty Law and Richard Seymour, those defenses were great, and they certainly helped a young quarterback develop, get better, and they won him, I'm sure, a handful of games. But he's also won Super Bowls when they had a doo-doo defense with nobody of note. Malcolm Butler, I mean, granted, he bailed him out in that one Super Bowl, but he was their number
Folks,
2
you hear
corner in
that?
that.
Doo-doo? Doo-doo is the word of the night, all right? Sorry, G,
No,
go
but-
on, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, he's played for varying defenses to help him out. He's played with 100 different wide receivers and tight ends and running. I mean, Kevin Falk was a great running back for the Patriots for 4 years because Brady hit him out of the backfield for 500 yards every year. He's turned James White and Deion Lewis and Rex Burkhead from Nebraska into formidable NFL usable running backs.
Well, how about Michelle this year?
Sony Michel, yeah.
I mean, he was a nobody coming in.
Yeah,
he was
any argument against him as the greatest football player of all time, not even just quarterback, greatest football player of all time.
Who are you going to argue differently?
Exactly. Well,
but luckily you are young, so therefore you don't have to put up with the Henson, Tom Brady talk.
Yeah,
right.
You're
in the clear, so you are a true Tom Brady fan.
None of my friends know as much about Drew Henson as you do, so I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll come back with you against Drew Henson, but I thought he was awesome. But yeah, Tom Brady, congrats on the 6th Super Bowl. It's unbelievable. Again, we'll probably be diving more into that again in later episodes and stuff like that, because there's so much we can talk about with Tom Brady, and I'm sure everyone is kind of sick of talking about him probably.
I don't care.
I don't either. Go.
Right.
So what we are going to that's pretty much it for the topics. But what I'd also what we're going to do now is we're going to rock some more recent news that's going on.
Absolutely.
And basically what we have is a couple things going on. Evan's no longer with the University of Michigan football team due to failing some classes, due to some academic issues.
Get your butt in the classroom, bro.
Yeah.
It's simple, man.
G, does that hurt him next year?
First of all, before I answer your question, it's simple, man. Go to class. Like, there's no way to fail a college class if you go every day and you turn your crap in. So go to class. Anyway, to answer your question, no, I don't think it does at all. We got a great freshman coming in. True Wilson looked great last year. Michigan's loaded at running back.
We got that Charbonnet coming in.
Charbonnet, that's his last name. I'm always afraid I'm going to mispronounce it, so I just say, we got a good freshman coming in.
That's all right, buddy. I got you back.
Thank you. No, Michigan's fine at running back. I think our offensive weapons are all pretty much back. If you look at the receivers, the quarterback, the O-line for the most part is intact.
What do we end up? Eighth in our recruiting class this year.
Number
one in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
number one in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Beat out Ohio State.
Which first time in.
I mean,
what feels like
we kind of know why, but regardless, Harbaugh. Keep going, buddy. Doing fine. I mean, 3 out of 4 double win seasons. Let's beat Ohio State this year, though.
Dude,
we got to beat Ohio State, G. That's
you and I discussed this last football season. I predicted Michigan to be worse than they were last year. So last year, to everybody else, kind of seems like a failure because of the loss to Ohio State and then the loss in the bowl game, which is fair. But I think it's about managing expectations, right? Like if you really look through an honest lens at the Michigan team last year, they performed about how they should have.
I thought it was a tough schedule. That was the problem.
It was. And so coming into this year, I think the expectation is bumped up a little bit higher. And I think this year there's one goal and one goal only, and that is to beat Ohio State.
So I had this actually that you bring that up. I got a question for you, G.
Yeah, fire away.
I did bring this up in the M Factor. It was one of the questions of the week. But would you rather go?
Oh man,
4 and so we'll say 4-8.
So you're gonna
beat Ohio State.
Yeah, I know you're going.
Or one loss against Ohio State.
So
don't forget we get Ohio State at home this year.
Let me ask you this. If we go one loss against Ohio State, do we make the playoff or not?
No, because it'd be at the end of the season.
So you think that Ohio State would go to the Big Ten championship and win? So here's
it's
why
got to be the scenario, right? The scenario would be
you lose to Ohio State and you go to say the Rose Bowl and you play second place in the Pac-12,
which kind of sucks now. The Rose Bowl isn't as big as it used to be.
I keep saying doo-doo.
That's twice, folks. Twice for doo-doo.
I've been so the funny thing about that is I've only seen I'm talking about how I haven't watched that much Michigan football that's good. I've only seen them beat Ohio State twice. I think it's happened 4 times since I was born, but 2 were when I was like a baby.
That's so sad.
It's so sad.
It's not like I've
man.
It's not like I've seen them beat them a lot either.
Well, you're like 10 to 20. They were really good, and beat them a lot. But I'm so sick of Ohio State. So here's what takes me off of these people that are from Michigan, born and raised here. Their parents were born and raised here in Michigan, and just choose to root for Ohio State because they're good. I hate them so much.
That's bandwagon, though.
That's bandwagon. But it makes me so mad because they're like, oh, I love Ohio State. I'm like, no, you don't. You like them because they're good. And it makes me so angry that I would do anything to see a Michigan win against Ohio State. I would probably take 4-8 and beat OSU. Especially if one of those other wins could be against MSU.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. G wants
4-8 next year.
G just wants a terrible season. Just a terrible season for him. I'm just kidding. So But back to the question: does Evans? I don't think Evans. It doesn't hurt him. I liked little
fast.
Evans, but
That's
yeah,
about it.
yep. And he stepped in pretty good for a couple games and stuff like
sure.
that. But so we got some big basketball games coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
We got MSU versus Minnesota at Breslin. That's 2 p.m. folks on ESPN.
Who you got now?
Well, I was going to ask you, G. What do you got first, buddy?
Sparty by 10.
Sparty by 10.
I think it'll be close, longer than it should, but I think State. It's must win, right? I mean, if you want to stay in the championship race, you have to win this game.
I'll one up you. I'll go Sparty by about 15 to
Okay, that's
15
fair.
to
Wouldn't
20.
surprise me.
The only reason I say that is because it's at Breslin. If it was at the barn, I would
barn's
totally
tough.
change
The
it.
barn's
It's a
tough,
tough place to play. We also have the big one later on, Duke at Virginia. That's a big one. 6 p.m. on ESPN, folks.
Yeah.
G, who you got in that one, buddy?
At Virginia.
You're kind of a Virginia fan, aren't you? Kind of a closet Virginia fan. I
I don't
can
even
see
know if it's
that.
closet. I love the way they play. I love that they only give up 50 points a game.
Oh, so
to
boring.
everybody.
It's so boring.
No, it's great basketball. But if you watch the first game, Duke figured it the heck out pretty quick and scored. I don't remember what they scored, but they scored well over whatever Virginia's average is this year. I'm going to go with Duke. I got Duke by
At Virginia, huh?
Duke by 8.
I'm going to go with Duke, too, so there's
okay. I thought you
no
were
surprise. No. I'm not going to go against you on that one.
Cool.
Duke.
The talent is just
Duke, I really think, just beats themselves. If they beat themselves,
Yeah.
they have so much talent.
I mean, I think the reason they lost to Gonzaga was the youth.
What was our yeah. Yep.
Nobody's
yeah,
played.
Exactly,
They haven't played together before.
Exactly.
It's their 5th game together.
Well, and that's another thing about teams like Gonzaga, like Michigan. They get to keep their players for 2-3 years, sometimes 4.
Yeah.
Sometimes 4. That's a big thing
Michigan
in college
is-
basketball.
I mean,
You got to think you're coming in there as an 18, 19-year-old. You're playing against 23-year-olds.
right.
That's a big thing. So,
Absolutely.
Yep, I got Duke as well. And then, of course, we cannot forget about the other big one, noon FS1, Michigan, Wisconsin. It's at Chrysler. Little redemption for the Wolverines this Saturday.
Yeah.
G?
Barring Iggy dropping a goose egg, I would take Michigan by 20 in this. I really don't see Hap playing as well as he did in the last one. I don't see Iggy playing as bad as he did. I don't see Poole struggling in the second half the way he did. I think, like I said, I could be totally wrong about this, but to me, it felt like that Iowa game was a bit of a wake-up call.
Yep.
And I think Michigan's ready.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I said, I'm going to, until if they do lose, obviously, but I'm going to say that was a major wake-up call. You could see it against Rutgers, and it was at Rutgers. Every away game in the Big Ten is a tough place to play. Ask Michigan State against Illinois. Ask Michigan against Northwestern.
Exactly. Oh,
you know what I mean?
Michigan at Illinois, too. Was a
At
tough
Illinois,
game.
yeah, it was.
Michigan
a lot
State
of people,
at Nebraska was
a
close
lot of
till
people
the last
don't
2
remember
minutes.
that.
Right.
Boy, Nebraska's kind of a disappointment this year. Good Lord.
Man. They got Watson. They got Roby. They got a couple good pieces.
They got most of the people back from last year.
Yeah, I thought Nebraska would be a lot better than they are.
I did too.
They looked not good last night against Maryland.
What are they?
What about Maryland? We haven't talked about Maryland at all. All of a sudden, looking like maybe a contender, maybe top 25 team. Them and Iowa both in the top 25 again.
I just think they pulled off a good win, and then I think they've beat the majority, besides Purdue.
They beat the teams they should beat.
Exactly, and they beat the majority, and I think because you got to remember, Maryland's got to play Michigan twice still.
Yeah.
They got to play Michigan State still.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see with Maryland. I think they kind of reached their peak.
What about
just
Purdue?
because
No tough games left, man.
Purdue.
Only one more tough game all
the
year.
fact that you brought that up and they don't have any
It's a game changer,
left.
man. It's a game changer.
I'm a little nervous now.
So I did want to bring up, you had mentioned that you didn't know if anyone else had gone back-to-back in the Big Ten tournament.
Yes.
It had happened twice prior to Michigan doing
Okay.
it. The 99-2000 Flintstones Michigan State teams.
That's right.
And then the 2010-2011
That's right.
Evan Turner, Jared Sullinger, Ohio State teams.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
They went back-to-back in the
boy, those were some good squads right there.
Oh, they were so
Sullinger.
good. They had
Sullinger was
Deshaun
tough.
Thomas, the lefty.
I remember
Their
Thomas.
guards back then were good.
Thomas could fly,
David Merritt
too.
was a great defensive guard.
Yeah.
They had some good teams then.
Yeah. Sad to say. You didn't hear us say that, guys.
We're not admitting it.
Well,
but,
but yeah, I got Michigan as well over Wisconsin this weekend.
Absolutely.
And like we've been talking all episode, I think that Iowa game was a big wake-up call.
I surely
I
hope
don't see them losing again, especially with the way they played at Rutgers.
Are you saying they're going to win the national title, or are you saying
regular season?
Oh,
regular
okay.
season.
Okay.
Win outright the Big Ten title.
Okay.
And if they do that, again, we'll see, because they're not going to be the underdog
Tournament,
anymore.
man.
It will help being a number 1 seed, though, in the Big Ten tourney, because you get two buys, right?
True.
You don't have to play till Friday. You got Friday, Saturday. That's all you got to play.
That's a good point.
So it could help them. We'll see, though. It's we're going back to the real Big Ten country.
Yeah.
Down in Indy, so we'll see, buddy.
Yeah. Going to be interesting. A lot of Big Ten basketball left to play.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, all right, folks, that's all for us on episode 1 of A to G. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Anything else you got, G?
I'm good, man. Feel free to comment and challenge us on his Drew Henson take and my John Navarre take or anything else.
Oh, good Lord.
Anything else you want us to discuss or comment?
We will not be answering anything about John Navarre.
But we do appreciate the feedback, seriously. And
yeah, absolutely, guys. How'd we do on the chat tonight?
We did all right. Scotty was just talking a lot of junk.
Oh, it's got Scotty's. Attaboy. Attaboy. Well, we appreciate all you guys. It's kind of a soft opening. We only let a few people know and stuff like that. So let us know your thoughts. Just write us. Obviously, chat to us. Obviously, we'll see most of you guys this weekend. So
right, for sure, for sure.
All right, buddy. G.
All right,
good times, buddy.
I'll see you next
we'll
week.
See you guys.
For sure.